Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. I'm Ana Fasan. Now we're going to look into some intermediate level practice problems on circular arrays. In this example, we're going to learn how to resize an array. Now, when is it necessary to resize an array? So let's look at this array of 5 values. If I want to insert a value here, then it's not possible because the array is full. Now, if I want to resize this array, that is increase the number of cells, then it cannot be done dynamically. So limitation of an array is that once you have declared the length, it is fixed. So if I want to increase the cells of this array under Uttara, let's say this array is under Uttara and Uttara is stored in the variable linear, then I will not be able to do that. If I must increase the cells, then I should do it in an out of place approach. That is, I need to create a new array with more cells and then copy the values. So let's say I want to increase this array by 2 cells. So I won't be able to do it under this reference. I will have to create a new array with length 7. So whenever I create a new array, a new address is generated. So then I will have to copy these values in the new array. And after copying the values, I will have to make the variable linear now point at the new array in Gaussian. So since I could not increase the length of this existing array, we say that the dynamic increase or dynamic resizing of an array is not possible. I have to create a new array in a different location, copy the values, and then change the reference. So I will have to make the variable linear point at Gaussian. And now my array has been resized. Now let's consider a circular array. The values in this circular array start from the index 4. So the values are 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And over here we can also see that the array is full. So if I have to resize this array, then I have to add more cells to it. Generally in circular array, when we resize it, we add the new cells after the end value. So the end value is at index 3, which is 50. So after 50, 2 more cells should be added. Again, since it's an array, if I have to resize it, then I will have to create a new array and then copy the values accordingly. Now the resizing can be done in many ways. In this particular example, we will see that when the resizing occurs, I don't want the start value to be changed. Okay, so since in this array the start was at index 4, then in my resulting array, I also want that my start is unchanged. So my values will also start at index 4. The start of the array is same, the size is also same, just that the length is different. I have 2 more cells added. So if I have to do this, if I have to resize my circular array, I will have to follow a similar pattern. I will have to create a new array with more cells, that is of a higher length, and then I will have to copy the values accordingly. Now let's try writing the code. Over here, inside the main method, I have declared and initialized a circular array with values 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, starting at the index 4. So when this array is created, let's say it's created under the reference Uttara, and the reference Uttara will be stored inside the variable circular. So I want you guys to pause the video at this point and try to write the method. Also, try to write how this method will be called from the main method. So this is how my method should look like. I've named my method resize that takes in a parameter of a circular array, the start value and its size. Also, I have kept the return type as an integer array because my goal is that I will pass this array and then a new array will be created with a bigger length and then I will copy the values. So in the end, I must return the newly created resized array. Therefore, it should be called in this way from the main method. So once I've called the resize method, I'm passing the reference of the circular array, that is Uttara, then the start value 4 and the size 5. So when the method is called, Over here, circ will then point at the array Uttara and will have the start and size value of this array. The values being 4 and 5. And once this method is executed, since I will return the newly created resized array, the reference of the new array will be stored in the variable circular. My next step will be creating a new array with a larger length. So over here, I've created a new array with the length 2 more than the existing array. Now this can be done in various ways. If you want, you can take the new length as a parameter, or you can take how the number of new cells to be created as a parameter. And over here, this is hard coded. Every time this method is executed, exactly 2 more cells will be created. Once this line is executed, a new array will be created under a new reference. So let's say the reference is Gulshan, and then Gulshan will be stored inside the variable resized circular, resized circ in short. So this is where I will be copying the values, and it should end up looking like this. Now let's try to think about the loop. So inside the loop, I will be copying the values from the array Uttara stored in the variable circ to the array named resized circ, where the reference is Gulshan. So I'll copy the value from Uttara to Gulshan. So in order to do that, I will have to run my loop. Now, how many times should my loop run? Since there are 5 values, my loop should run for 5 times. So I've created a loop that runs size many times because size many values have to be copied. Now remember thumb rule number 1, that since I'm iterating 2 circular arrays, my loop should depend on the loop counter should depend on how many values should be copied. And then when the values will be copied, I will have to maintain an index, right? Because the value will be copied from the start value of this array to the start index of this array. Now the question is, the start of this array is at 4. The start of this array should also be at 4. So should I keep the same variable for both of them? Now it might look like that yes, one variable should be enough, but think about it. For this circular array, when the index will be incremented by 1, I should mod it by this length, because when it becomes 5, then it should be wrapped around to 0. However, for this array, if it starts at 4 and if I increase it to 5, should I mod it? I shouldn't, right? Because I should mod it when it becomes 7. So since I have 2 different circular arrays of 2 different lengths, I should maintain 2 different index variables. One index variable will be used to control this array, and another variable will be used to control this array. So index underscore circ this variable will be used to iterate this array under Uttara, and index underscore resized circ will be used to iterate this array under Gulshan. We're doing this because the length of both the arrays are different, and this index must be mod by this array's length, and the index of this array must be mod by this array's length. That's why 2 different variables are maintained. After this line, index underscore circ will point at 4, and index underscore resized circ will also point at 4. So understand that this array's index will be controlled by index underscore circ, and this array's index will be controlled by index underscore resized circ. So in the loop, I should copy the value from Uttara to Gulshan. So the line should be like this. I've copied the value from the array in Uttara, which is in circ, to the array in Gulshan, that is in the reference resized circ. And for circ, the index variable is index underscore circ, and for resized circ, the index variable is index underscore resized circ. So after this line, I should increment this variable and this variable as well before it goes into the next iteration. Now understand that when I increment this value, this index underscore circ variable, it will become 5, and 5 should be mod with the length 5 so that it wraps around to 0. So when I increment this, I should mod it with the length of this array. So after incrementing it, I've modded with circ's length, which is 5. So 5 mod 5 will give me 0. And when I increment this index, I should mod it with this array's length because I want the wrap around to take place when the index becomes 7. So when I increment resized circ's index, I will have to mod it with resized circ's length. And this is the reason I had to maintain two different variables because the length of these arrays are different. And this should be mod with 5 and this should be mod with 7. So after this line, 10 will be copied over here. And after that, incrementing this value will make the value to become 5 and 5 mod 5 will give me 0. So in the next iteration, index underscore circ will point at 0. And incrementing this value will give me 5 and 5 mod 7 will still be 5. So this will point at 5 and this will point at 0. Okay, and then 20 will be copied over here. And then in the next iteration, this will increment to 1 and this will increment to 6. And then 30 will be copied over here. And now notice that when in the next iteration, when this value will increase, it will become 7. And then 7 mod 7 will be 0. So this will be wrapped around. And when this will increase, right, it will increase to 2. And then this is being mod with the value 5. So 2 mod 5 will still be 2. So this will increment to 2 and this will become 0. And then 40 will be copied over here. Next, it has increment to the value 3 and this has incremented to the value 1. So 50 will be copied. And now if you see, this array now looks like my resulting circular array. So I have done resizing my array. Now I still have one more step left. That is, I need to return this value. That is, I need to return this reference at the end of my method. So after this iteration, I will become 5 and the loop will terminate. Okay, so now I should return the reference of this array that is stored in the variable resized circ. So when I return this value, the reference Gulshan will be returned and it will be stored in the variable circular. So circular will now point at this array. Now, after this method is executed, remember that all the local variables inside the method will get destroyed. So I will no longer have resized circ or these index values existing. So they will all disappear. Also notice that since this array's reference is no longer stored in any variable, I will no longer have access to this array as well. So in the end, now circular will be pointing towards this array with 2 new extra cells. So you see, I actually did not increase the length of the existing array that was in Uttara, but in fact, I created a new array with a larger number of cells and copied the values accordingly. And this way, this is how we can increment or resize the length of a circular array.